So I am Tracy Wilburn, and I teach English 332 and 335, and I have been here for a while. I started in 2009, and I am just absolutely overwhelmed by how we've grown and the amazing potential that we have at BYU-Idaho. And so where this presentation grew out of was I was actually reading something that David Ashby had posted up about feedback, and it was an article that he had been looking at that he thought was interesting, that he had put up on Google Plus about how the sandwich method of feedback doesn't work, which basically rocked my world. Because as an English teacher, I am a go-to sandwich maker. Okay, I always that was my go-to feedback method. Like, what? I've been doing it wrong all these years. And I basically had a little bit of a breakdown. So really briefly, let's see if I can get this to advance because I am not a Microsoft girl. There we go. How does this work? So basically, the sandwich method is, so if you're hungry, okay, what is the sandwich method and how does it work? Basically what you do is you sandwich in your negative critiques of what you are telling a student between something positive. And the idea behind this makes a lot of sense, at least you think it would, that you're giving them something warm and fuzzy. Oh, by the way, this is really awful. Oh, but now here's something warm and fuzzy. And you would think that that would, in fact, be beneficial. But actually, all of the hardcore research, and there are actually two wonderful programs that I found doing research. This was actually done because it upset me so badly. This was my SMART goal for my semester last semester, to read through this and figure out why doesn't this work. And so there's a fantastic program going off at MIT where they are actually studying student feedback and the best ways to give feedback. There's also a fantastic program going on at Stanford where they're doing the same thing. And they're coming up with the same conclusions. It's basically your two good comments are perceived as insincere, and the students completely and totally disregard them. They don't even care because they figure you are making them up on purpose to soften the blow, and they don't take them as being real. And so it's not doing them any good. They also have found that they figure that this pattern, students have seen it before, and they believe that your feedback then is rote, that you are not sincerely reading their work, that you are not engaging with them on an individual level, that you are filling feedback out based on a script, and so they don't care. That you don't care, so they don't care. The other thing that they found technically with this the sandwich method is that feedback is too much. But if you're giving them 3 points of feedback, it's too much. It's overwhelming, and they're not going to process it. And then the other thing that I thought was really interesting is, if we move forward, okay, is so how do you fix this then? How do you really give good feedback in a way that students are actually going to then apply it to their work? So that kind of the overall conclusion of all the studies that I read is if you're using the sandwich method, or if the way that you tend to give feedback is it's a one-time event. So they turn in an assignment, whatever that assignment is, and you give them single event feedback. Because first of all, most of them don't need it, and we've all had that experience, right? Because you've done this whole huge, you spent hours, right, doing your feedback, and the majority of students aren't even going to read it. And then the students that do read it, here's the sad part. They don't apply that advice onto their next assignment. That they don't make the transfer. And you've all seen that too, right? Because they're making the same mistakes again that we then get to write the whole big chunk of feedback all over again. We've all done that, right? We have all had that experience. So what do you do to break out of this cycle? What do you do that actually works? So this is, again, primarily, and I'll show you on my slide for my sources at the end so you can look at it yourself. But primarily, what they are finding at the MIT and the Stanford Institutes is you need to give much shorter feedback. That big old paragraph, that it's not working. You need to give shorter bulleted feedback, and it needs to be much more specific. I mean, extremely specific. The more specific you can get, the better. Yes, Ed.
Just a question from your perspective. Is direct okay?
Yes.
Because when I do the rubric feedback, I am very, your piece of statement is not specific. Like I try to be specific, but I don't fluff. I say, here it is, bam.
And that is what they're finding. Okay. That you need to be very specific, you need to be direct. Don't.
Good. It makes me feel heartless. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't have time. Here it is.
Well, and again, if you sugarcoat it, you wrap it up in the fun, right? Then they're taking it as being insincere.
Okay. But I also don't want them to think, wow, you're heartless.
Well, we're getting to that to how you get over that. Wow, she must really hate me, and I must be the worst person on the face of the planet, and I'm just going to quit now. Because we've had those teachers too. I mean, at least I've had those. At least in graduate school, like my whole dissertation committee. Yeah. Anyway, so we have to be much shorter, and we have to be much more focused. I want everybody to promise me right here today that you will banish good job. That you will never write good job again.
Make it shorter.
Okay. You've got to be specific. What was good? Okay. What did you like? Or what did you not like? You can't just say, oh, great paper. It's a waste. It's a waste of their time. It's a waste of your time. And it teaches them not to pay attention to your feedback. So shorter and more focused. And the next thing that we touched on for a second, that one event, it doesn't work. The biggest reason that it doesn't work is that it doesn't get applied from assignment to assignment to assignment. So you have to start giving more frequent feedback.
I'm not sure what you mean because we only grade their assignment once.
Well, you see,
so you're going to tell us how to.
So I'm going to tell you how to do this. So my model is an English class, and so what I do is we had a paper due week 6. So what I would start doing is week 2 is, okay, send me your thesis statement. I want to see what your thesis statement is right now. Now, that's one great thing is they can no longer procrastinate, right? And if they didn't send it to me by email, I hunted them down and I called them on the phone and said, hi, this is Sister Wilburn. I didn't get your thesis statement. Why don't we talk about it right now? They email me next week. It works. Anyway, so you've got to start talking to them about the assignment before the assignment is due. You have to start looking at it at the pieces before it comes in to your inbox. If you want quality work and if you want the students to start transferring your comments into the final product. And then the benefit, so all of the research shows, the benefit of that is that actually engages them in the learning process, and that's what transfers. So that the next time they have to write a paper, they know, oh, wait a minute, I should start on my thesis.
She's going to call me.
She's going to call me. If I don't turn it in, she's going to hound me. But that's what starts transferring.
Is your course developed that way?
I got on with my course lead and I made it that way. So when it wasn't, I said, okay, we have this huge project that's due at the end of the semester. I want it broken down in pieces. And I want them to turn in their introduction this week, and then I want to see their chronology this week. And so we made it that way. And if your course isn't that way, talk to your online course representative and have them talk to your course lead so that you can make that happen.
I think there are other ways for those of us that don't have kind of these longer assignments. I mean, I teach CS 120, I'm just trying to think, what does that mean that we're very distinct assignments each week? But I think if you get, I think there are different ways, like, I'm just thinking out loud. You know, I could do what I get a few assignments in usually early, so I can start giving feedback and kind of sharing it broadly.
Yes.
So that as other people are doing, even though I'm not giving them specifically feedback on their assignment, I'm hoping it's stimulating juices. Oh, I haven't started that assignment, but I'll keep that in mind as I start doing mine.
Exactly. Class-wide announcement posted on the discussion board. Exactly.
Tracy, how does that work from the student's perspective? For feedback, you mentioned that somebody's don't even see it, and I feel that way,
Right.
but I don't know what their view is. Like when I grade them and I give them feedback on an assignment, do they get some kind of pop-up that says, you just received feedback from your instructor? I mean, how does that work with their perspective?
Yeah.
And how
And
hard
it's
is
getting
it
better.
to do
That's actually one of the huge reasons why we are transitioning to Brightspace and using D2L, because that will become much more immediate, much easier in Brightspace. And it will even be able to go into the gradebook, into Brightspace, and see if they have looked at it or not.
Yeah.
And so you can get an email and say, you know what? I left you a comment, and you haven't looked at it yet. I would really appreciate you looking at that and then sending me an email about what you think about my feedback. Of course, I'm an evil instructor that would do that, but you don't have to do that.
Yeah, you actually.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
do have people in feedback, they'll say, please email this ready, or put in a line like, if you read this and you give me the answer to this question.
exactly.
back,
I'll
then
give you
that's
some
the
extra
point.
points. Yeah. And I have done that too.
Tracer bullets.
Which actually then brings us perfectly to the next point, which is, so like Patty said, so can we be direct? Absolutely. So how do you make that be so you're not, the evilest person in the world who is cutting them down at the knees? You have to make this more frequent feedback more conversational. So you have to engage in the conversation with them. So instead of, your thesis statement is horrible, what I will do is, so they email me their thesis statement and it is in fact absolutely horrible. I will actually say, oh, I got your thesis statement. I have a couple concerns. What do you think about it? And that's the email that I will send back, because that gets them thinking, oh, it's not so great, but I actually haven't told them how to fix it. And I don't sound like I'm the most horrible person in the world. And now that invites a response from them back to me where they can say, well, I don't know, or
You could ask them a question like, how could you make this more directly related to X?
exactly, or along the lines of, I like this idea and this idea and this idea, but it's too broad for our assignment. Which one of these three would be better for you to focus on? Okay, and so by making it more conversational, you can be absolutely direct. You're inviting their responses back, and you're not the horrible, evil, awful person that they don't want to talk to.
I remember in a brown bag we had a student saying that was one thing they really disliked, is when you put in a question within iLearn, because they can't just respond back, and most of our assignments are, we do give the feedback in iLearn. So how do you suggest?
I make an email.
I told them to email me.
Yeah, exactly. I just say, please email me back. Please email me back a response to the question. I mean, I'm that.
And you would change your grade based on what they say back?
Well, I start this conversation with, I will even have them post on the discussion board or something, and so I will use that feedback in the discussion board. So I will get this rolling way before we actually get something that I grade. Okay, yes.
Some people have wondered, how do we get students to attend our office hours regularly? Well, I've just found it so easy to say, I would love to talk with you face to face about this in my office hour on this Thursday.
Exactly. Yeah, I hold my office hour every week. I have at least half the class show up. I hold just a tiny little bit of a lecture about the weeks going on. They love it. They feel like they're in a real class. And then I take questions, and that's how I get them there. So it works, and it does. It creates this conversational flow. I do a lot of individual conversing with students either over the phone or in Adobe. Google Hangout works fantastically well for that as well, if you're interested. And then here is what all of the research is showing. which just shows that our learning model is inspired and we really are led by profits, because this is the kicker. But if you really want students to improve, you have to start teaching them to give feedback to other people. It's that teach one another, and you have to take it to the next level so that they have to start applying it. So instead of the discussion board being post, the discussion board becomes a process of feedback between one another. Does that happen magically? Absolutely not. I spend most of my time on the discussion board coaching them how to work in a group and how to respond to a post rather than posting content. But it works wonders. Usually by about week 5, I love our discussions. We have the best discussions, and it's student-driven content, not content that I'm driving. That's because for the past 4 weeks, I have been intensively coaching on this is how we give feedback, and this is how we work together in a group to talk to one another to make this meaningful.
I think I have a student that was in your class because
Okay.
because I actually didn't give her a lot of points because she was just asking questions to the students.
Okay, like that might
my class is more like teach something you've learned that week, and I felt like she was kind of doing it too easy of a thing. So what do you do in that situation?
Well, it depends on the questions that they're asking. I mean, do they respond to one another's questions, because they're supposed to respond to one another's questions too? But, you know, is it a good critical thinking question? Because sometimes questions are much more important than answers. So I don't know. And again, that's personal. You have to decide that for your course. For my course, especially since it's literature, sometimes really good questions are much more important than a pat answer. Okay, so when we talk about the language of feedback, we need to be, and this is from,
By the way, that's an excellent book.
isn't that a fantastic, she is fantastic. I love this book, and she is fantastic. We need to be as specific as possible with our language. We need to describe what's going on rather than judge. So, and I know as instructors, that's kind of what we're doing, right? We're judging, we're grading, we're critiquing, but that doesn't help the students improve their own work, if that makes sense. We're telling them what's wrong, and then at some level, if they fix what we told them to fix, there hasn't been a lot of deep learning going on there. Right now, I have a great red pen, and I can go through the paper, and because I'm pretty decent at this point in time, right? I've been doing it for 20 years. I can fix all of your comma splices and all of your run-on sentences, and I can form a pretty decent thesis, and I can go with red pen, and I can do it. But what then has that student learned?
Where to go for help?
Where to go for help? Or turn in a crappy paper and Sister Wilburn will fix it for you and give you a lousy grade. Okay, so we need to be encouraging, we need to be specific to tell them what they did well in as specific language as possible. So your topic sentence is clear, it captures the reader's attention. I really liked how you solved that problem. You used facts and details from the text to support your position well right here. Okay. I do a lot of embedding feedback, so if they'll turn in a paper, I do a lot of embedding and highlighting. This part right here was fantastic because of this quote you used and in this way that you summarize the quote to tie it back to your thesis. Okay. Yes?
I use a lot of peer feedback, and I think this is so crucial in relationship to what you were just talking about helping the students know how to give feedback. Because if a student gives judgmental feedback to a peer, the peer is just going to get defensive, and they're not going to learn anything from the information given to them. So it's going to be a destructive experience for both.
Yes, absolutely.
My course is not designed this way, but maybe it should be that let them turn them in, and then I'll say this is good, but you missed this, and then let them turn in again with the improvements. You know, I mean, I would have to. It sounds like the
Even
last bullet up there, like it's geared to let them take a second attempt to see if they understood what you said, but you'd have to set up the course.
Right, so contact your course representative and say, I'd like to see a draft before the final copy of this assignment. Or I would like to put in some peer editing. I would like the peers to get together and look at a draft. And then you teach them peer editing so that they're going through this process. And then you get the final copy, which should be a better quality.
I think something you can do too, even if you don't have the course completely change, is that you're the teacher. You're allowed to, if you want to say, hey, maybe you didn't do as well on this assignment, I'd give you a chance to redo this, and maybe I'll average the two grades together, or give you the better grade or things like that. You have the scope where you can do that, right? As long as you have time, you give them a deadline, different things like that.
Tying into that idea, I teach a math class, and I do allow resubmissions, but I think the idea here is to get the course developed. I just made a note. Let's have the initial draft of it. It's an Excel spreadsheet file, so it's very concrete, defined. Have it due Wednesday, and then peer reviewed in the gatherings.
Yep. And then have the final copy that you can review.
And that's due. Yeah.
And in some ways you think, well, this is going to take so much time, and this is going to make my life so miserable. In fact, it doesn't. It's just the opposite. All of the time that I spend tracking them down and talking to them about their paper is time that I don't then have to spend picking apart their final draft, telling them everything that's wrong. And so the final grading is so much better and faster. And then everybody actually has had a better experience. They've learned something, and I'm no longer frustrated with this huge long thing that they're not going to read that I feel I have to do in order to be a quality instructor.
I was going to say, in our courses in American Foundations, they have a paper every other week.
Right.
So it'd be almost hard to do that because they have other assignments as well. When I look at it, if I give this kind of feedback, and as I read this book and tried to do more of that, I find out that students will do a couple things. Number one, the next paper is better. Or number two, they'll say, what didn't you like again? What you said, and I go, well, these are some issues. And I go, okay, now I'll know what to fix. And then I don't have to deal with it anymore because that student now has fixed it. And then when they're in the discussion board, they do.
And they'll tell someone else that this is what they need to fix.
Yeah, or I've even heard, did you read the assignment? Because that's not what the assignment said. And then it'll be like, oh, thank you. And then I didn't send that in to Brother Fuller yet. You know what I mean? And I'll read that and be like, and I'll send something to that student and say, thank you very much.
Exactly.
I didn't have to say it.
Yeah, gold star virtual cupcakes.
Now the student is saying, this is what the class is, not what you think it is.
Yes,
And that's
exactly.
I just sit back and, again, candy.
Yep, exactly. I send virtual cupcakes all the time. Janine, who trained me all those eons ago, that was her thing. And so, yes, my students get virtual cupcakes. Anyway, all right. So here are some, and this should be it because I sent it to operations, so they should have had it up. So you don't have to copy everything down. It should be connected to the presentation. But these are just kind of some really good basic sources on, if you're getting started, where to read to improve your feedback. And I particularly chose these because they are geared towards online communities rather than face-to-face communities. ACSD is an online community. Edtopia is kind of a out-of-the-box, forward-thinking online educational community. Anyway, so these are if you want places to start, looking for how can I do feedback in a new, in a different, in an interesting way. These are some good places to go, but you shouldn't have to write them down. The link should be attached. Anyway, and then here are the two studies that are just so fascinating. The MIT Relate study is where, again, they're studying particularly in online and digital outreach, and it's just so fascinating what they are coming up with. Actually, you ready for this? Because we get a lot of flack for, online classes. Online outcomes are better than face-to-face outcomes, according to MIT. They're learning more, they're retaining more, and they're taking their skills with them from one course to another, at least according to MIT. So we're doing something, and we're doing something worthwhile, and something is sticking. So go us. Thank you, MIT. Anyway, and then the Stanford Center, the opportunity policy, again, they're looking particularly for online. Stanford has a whole, they're really into the MOOCs, the massive online courses, and the open course structure. So they're really looking into how to make that experience more meaningful, and so that this study center is coming out of that, and they're doing some really fascinating and some interesting information. So I actually have an exercise for you to do, because I am that mean teacher. This would be a typical discussion board post that maybe we would get. Okay, so maybe the discussion board was, the prompt was, say something about your life as a college student, and this is the post that you got. Okay, so give me pretend I'm a student, and this is my post. Okay, give me some feedback. How can I make this a better post? How can I improve this?
I would think of how to craft this better, but I would say something like, how is that related to you yourself? It's not very personal. What parts of this are you?
Okay, exactly. So if the discussion board was prompted to, tell me something about your life as a college student, this is terribly impersonal. Okay, absolutely. I saw another hand.
Yeah, I was going to say kind of along the same lines, just that they need to relate to their personal experiences and maybe give an example of a personal example.
Okay, so, and we know that all the time. If they give that personal example, if they take the material and they relate it to themselves personally, particularly on the discussion boards, it makes that discussion that much more meaningful if they take the information and they take it with us. Okay, one more.
Give me at least 2 more sentences to turn this into a full paragraph.
Ooh, I love that, because the rubric says you must have a full paragraph for points. Okay, I love that. Okay. Anyway, so the point is, this isn't hard, and it's really not asking us to do anything that we're not really supposed to be doing. It's actually just asking us to do our jobs in a more focused, more productive way. Anyway, and I know that the personal relationships that you can create with your students, as we were told in our keynote yesterday by President Gilbert, to reach out and make those personal connections with the students. I've had several students say, Sister Wilburn, I don't know how you knew that, but I needed that. And I get that all the time. I have students who friend me on Facebook that, they took my class, probably 2-3 years ago, and they still post things to me, and they still talk to me because of the personal relationships that we made through feedback. They're individuals, and they want us to reach out to them and to connect with them on a personal and a spiritual level, and that's where we make that impact. That is what BYU-Idaho is all about. So thank you very much.